Alright, so Detective Pikachu is the newest movie out this weekend. It is actually obviously a part of the Pokemon universe as a whole. And it's a live action film. It's another video game movie, essentially. I mean, I guess with Detective Pikachu it's hard to tell because with Detective Pikachu it's like the Pokemon world is so well known for the video games, but it is technically an anime slash manga, and it does have a card game, so I don't really know what to register. I'm going to sit there and give it to the fact that it's kind of both a positive for both the anime genre as well as the video game genre. Because Detective Pikachu, in my eyes, was actually pretty good. It's one of those things where a lot of the action and a lot of the stuff with Pokemon was really, really good. Some of the characters in the movie were a little one-dimensional and a little bland. Some of them were actually fairly well. I think Justice Smith did a decent job. I feel like he could have done an even better job with an even sharper script. You can tell they spent a lot of time, really focusing on the Pokemon. I mean, I think even the director, in an interview within the last week or two after the whole Sonic the Hedgehog fiasco, had actually mentioned that they took like 2.5 years to actually film animals that a lot of the Pokemon are based on in the wild and stuff like that. And it's actually an interesting article, but basically he talked about how they really prepped this movie for a really long time before they actually even started shooting the thing. And it shows. The CGI here is actually really, really good, and the story is actually fairly decent. And for the first time ever, I can actually say that we actually have a good video game movie. And a good live-action anime film. I mean, don't get me started on a couple of those. And of course, there's already the fiasco with the anime world about how there's not a corgi in Cowboy Bebop. So, I mean, for the first time ever, both as anime nerds and gamers, we kind of have a victory in the win. We have a W in the win column. So, honestly, I think this is a movie that's actually really enjoyable. There's a lot here. There's a lot more here than I actually initially thought there would be. And to be honest with you, the city, Rhyme City, is actually a very interesting place, a new original location in the Pokemon universe. There is one thing, though, that I will admit, going into this movie, if you go into this movie and you're not much of a Pokemon fan, or you're a very, very Pokemon light fan, like you used to like it back when you were like 9, 10 years old, you're going to be lost on a handful of the references. I mean, there were even like a couple references here and there that were lost on me. But most of them, I'd say probably about 90-95% of the references, I definitely got, and it put a giant smile on my face. Definitely more than my brother Hunter, who was with me to watch the movie, because I'm a big Pokemon nerd. There were a couple years here and there that I might have kind of separated from it, but I'm not going to lie, I grew up with it. It's something that's always going to be a part of me, no matter what. So I really enjoyed the fan service because it didn't feel forced or just, surviving on it. It feels good that they kind of embedded it into the actual, original story that they had for this movie. There's enough here that if you are a little older, obviously, if you're going with your kid, or there's going to be more than enough here for you with, I won't say completely just adult jokes per se, because there's not too many of them, but there's a little bit more here to chew on as an adult that I felt like a lot of the adults in the theater were having just as good a time as the kids were. Still had a theater full of adults who were laughing along and having a good time. So, really, I mean, that's the other thing, too. This movie actually winds up, and I won't lie, Ryan Reynolds obviously does carry it. I mean, he's hilarious. It's Ryan Reynolds. And he does absolutely carry the movie. And he's definitely the best part. Going forward, if we ever get another, Detective Pikachu movie, if that ever winds up even possible, or just another Pokemon movie in general, the two things I would say that I'd like to see more of is definitely the Pokemon battles, and definitely deeper, better human characters. Because that's the thing, is some of the characters in here were a little bit more one-dimensional or even a little cartoony. But to be honest with you, the more that I thought about it, the more I realized it's because they're kind of hearkening to characters that are in the games. While I've seen some people make the argument, and I agree, that sometimes doing a fan service thing where you're hearkening to a game or an anime doesn't always translate when you're trying to do something more serious, especially with this movie, a little more serious and more grounded. So those are the two things that I'd like to see improved on. Because even with Justice Smith as the main character, he does have an arc, but it's a very small arc. But that's, like I said, that's not on him, that's on the writing. So definitely, I wouldn't mind seeing another one. I would like to see more video game movies take lessons from this one. This one definitely, you could tell, was made with a lot of love and dedication to what they're referencing and what they're using. And is a good example of why, people who saw the Sonic film got so mad. Because this one doesn't trample all over series that it's trying to make something about. It's adding to it. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm just going to keep this one short. My final verdict for Pokemon Detective Pikachu is actually an 8 out of 10. There's been a lot of those lately. I don't want to seem like I'm getting soft now. But to be honest with you, I feel like, honestly, if you're not a big fan of Pokemon, I'd say you probably even rate it as like a 7 out of 10. And if you're a mega fan, you might even be able to edge it out to be a 9 out of 10. But really, the things that work here are the things I feel like most of us thought would. Ryan Reynolds' Pikachu is awfully hilarious, and he's got pretty good chemistry with the main lead, Justice Smith. The Pokemon battles themselves and, a lot of the interactions with the Pokemon are great, and you wanted to see more of it. I mean, the movie's about 2 hours long, and it just feels like it just wasn't enough to get the interaction. Like, they really put a lot of effort, detail, and heart in making these, and so if we ever got another Pokemon film, I would definitely like to see more of that. And, I mean, the city and, like I said, the interactions with the Pokemon and the lore and some of the things that they established, I felt like they did really well. Like I said, if they wanted to do another one, absolutely, I'd be on board as long as they continue to not just try to milk it, but continue to do it out of a love like this movie had. Obviously, the negatives are the more one-dimensional / cartoony characters. Like I said, why it works in the anime and, in the games, it would be nice to get a little more depth. Especially, because, really, there's only one character that has any depth, and even then, it's not super deep. So I'd love to sit there and see more. There's no reason why you couldn't do more. So that's it for me, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off here and get ready, because I got Rage 2. I got Rage 2. I've got John Wick Chapter 3. I've got, 1 or 2 other movies coming out. I've got a lot of stuff coming. A lot of stuff happening. And I wouldn't actually mind being able to sit there and maybe do some old games or old movie reviews. Maybe do some other fun stuff to kind of help break up the 2 to 3 week gaps of content. But next week I'll be pretty busy, and I'll try to get that stuff out as soon as I can, especially now that I'm caught up yet again. And I'll see you guys on the next On the Shelf. Bye, guys.